Hello, everyone. Welcome to Bookmarked Chapter 29. So today we are going to be discussing underrated books. Yay! So I'm Hailey from Hailey and Bookland. You're on my channel.
I'm Hannah. My channel is A Clockwork Reader.
And I am Zoe from ReadbyZoe.
So I don't have what I'm currently reading. Just realized that. Very ill prepared. But I'm currently still reading Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. Yeah, there we go.
I'm not reading anything. How many weeks has it been? I keep trying to read something and I just don't feel like reading anything.
Yeah.
So
I feel that.
Take your time. I am also still reading Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. I thought I'd be done with it by now, but I have been very distracted. And also, it's just it's not just a romance. So there's more political aspects to it.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of a slower read, but it's still good.
Excellent. All right. So, one of the things that we prepared was a list of our favorite underrated books. So, did you guys want to start with that?
Yeah. Why not?
Okay, cool. Do you want to start, Zoe or Hannah?
Okay, I'll start. I have them right here. So I picked 5 right here. First are 2 graphic novels. The first one is Nimona by Noelle Stevenson. It won a National Book Award, but I haven't seen a lot of these are ones that have once been popular, or you would think they'd be popular, but I haven't seen a lot of people talk about it. So here is one. Really recommend it. It's about supervillains. Very interesting. And the other graphic novel is The Prince and the Dressmaker by Jen Wang, which Hannah's actually read and she liked it. So we have 2 people here who want you to read this. It's about a prince and a dressmaker in I don't know what year it is, but it's in France, and they're Belgian.
The French still have a monarchy.
Yeah.
That time.
It's modern, but right before the French Revolution.
Yeah.
And then the next one is Everything Leads to You by Nina LaCour, which is a summary romance about, it's a female romance, and I really enjoyed it. I read it 5 years ago or something like that, but I still think about it pretty frequently because it's set in Hollywood, and their main character is a set decorator for movies, and that's such a thing that I didn't even know about beforehand. The romance is also good, and it's a mystery. So I forgot about that until just now.
Yeah, I forgot about that. I've read that one as well, and I really liked it.
Again, 2 recommendations. The next one is Howl's Moving Castle by Deanna Wynne Jones, and a lot of people know the movie. I love the movie. So does Hannah. The Studio Ghibli movie is so amazing, but I actually didn't know it was a book until pretty recently, and I read it and it was really good. It's a YA fantasy, and it's different enough from the movie that it's not you're just the entire story. And the last one is another one that I think is pretty popular, but again, not a lot of people I know have read it, and that's The Diviners by Libba Bray. I have only read the first one, but is it the last one that's coming out?
I don't know if it is.
It's the last one.
The last one is coming out next year, I believe. And wow, I'm excited.
Same.
So I don't have 6 like Zoe, because I was trying to think of a list, and for some reason I forgot literally every book I've ever read, even though I just made a video on underrated series.
Yeah.
I say just, it was 3 months ago. I don't know what time is anymore. And then I've always had lists on my phone of for video ideas. So I always think of oh, I want to make an underrated book series video, but I can't find the list on my phone now. So tragic. But I made a list of 4 books that I think are underrated. The Last Magician by Lisa Maxwell, which I have not shut up about in recent months since I read it, because it's so good and everybody should read it if you like fantasy. If you've read The Diviners and you liked the Diviners, I say read The Last Magician. Her Body and Other Parties. It's a collection of short stories, feminist short stories, and they're exceptional. It's won a ton of awards, but it's not really popular on BookTube. I'm kind of going off of what's popular on BookTube. Yeah. I'm sure it's pretty popular in terms of short story collections, but I think it's phenomenal, and more people should definitely read it. The Weight of Feathers by Anna Marie McLemore is also wonderful. If you like The Night Circus, I highly suggest it. It's magical realism about this traveling group of performers. It's also loosely based off of Romeo and Juliet. It's so good. And then Paperweight by Meg Haston, which is one of my favorite books about mental illness and eating disorders, which I think is highly underrated as well. So, yeah.
Excellent. I have a list of 6 as well. So I've done a couple, like, I feel like I tend to read underrated books pretty, like, fairly often. And I think like, big part of that is because of my work. So I see a lot of books that you don't hear about as much. But one of the books on my list is Ink by Alice Broadway. It's like a dystopian, and it takes a lot of pieces from different dystopians, and it reminds me a lot of other ones, like Unwind by Neil Shusterman and The Giver by Lois Lowry
What does the
specifically.
cover of that one look like, Ink? Is it like orange with
I
like
have it.
foil?
Oh yeah, it's orange with foil. It's
Okay,
like
okay.
underneath a bunch of books. But yeah,
Okay.
it has a beautiful cover, which is
Yeah,
what
I was
drew
gonna
me to it
say,
in the
I
first
think I
place.
can remember it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. But the concept of that has to do with tattoos, and there's like the tattoos on you tell the story of your life. So like if
Oh,
you did something horrible, you get a tattoo that talks about it. So like you're kind of branded, like everyone
yeah.
knows.
Mhm.
But then when you die, you're turned into like a skin book. So
Ew.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's your actual skin. I don't really remember, but like you're basically turned into a book. But the main character's father, he was branded with something that she didn't know about that made it so he would be forgotten forever and he wouldn't actually be turned into that book. So it's all about that and kind of her learning about the society that she's in. A recent one that I talked about in my video that went up today, my recent reads video, was Prince Charming by Rachel Hawkins. And this also includes Her Royal Highness, but I feel like Her Royal Highness has gotten a lot more hype, which is awesome. But Prince Charming used to be titled Royals, and it was so good, so cute. It's about a girl who ends up getting involved in the Scottish monarchy because her sister's marrying into it. So she goes and she's like living the life for a summer, and there's boys and romance and stuff. Then another one is Goose Girl by Shannon Hale. This one used to be popular. Like it's an older series, but I think the books are amazing and I would love for people to continue reading them. I think they need to be talked about much more, but they deal with all sorts of different powers. Like the main character in the first book can speak to animals. So that's her ability, and it's about her learning to use that. And then I also have Always Never Yours by Emily Wibberley and Austin Siegeman Broca. I talk about this book a lot, so like if you watch my videos, you've definitely heard about it, but it is a romance that is set at a high school, and their high school is putting on a performance of Romeo and Juliet. So it's kind of like a retelling in a way. And then I also have A Million Junes by Emily Henry, which once again kind of has to do with Romeo and Juliet. It's like, to me, it felt like a loose kind of retelling of it, but it's a sort of magical story, but it's also realistic at the same time. And it is set in Michigan in the forest, and like there's all sorts of different things. I can't explain that one well because it's been so long since I read it, but I did really enjoy it. I thought it was really fun. And then I also have Prisoner of Night and Fog by Anne Blankman. I was talking about this one with Liv earlier on Twitter. I had forgotten about this one, but it is one of the first books that I read when I started BookTube, and like it had just come out and no one really talks about it. I never hear anyone talking about it. So when Liv from Stories for Coffee was talking about it, I was like, yes, someone else has read it. But it's about this girl, and Hitler is her uncle. So he's
Oh.
actually a character in it, and she's starting to discover her father was killed, and she's starting to discover like not everything about his death is what it seems. Like not everything about her uncle Hitler is as it seems. So she's learning about like everything that's happening and all the corruption that she is in the midst of. And she ends up having a relationship with a Jewish reporter, and like it's just very fascinating. So many layers to the story, and I think it was really well done.
Is that YA?
Yeah,
Oh,
it
That
is.
sounds
Yeah.
like it can be very controversial.
Oh, for sure. But I think it was so well done.
Oh, okay, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah. Like
Just
it
like
definitely
making him
sounds.
like a character.
Well, that's
Mm.
what I liked. Like it was very fearless in that way, but it
Mhm.
wasn't making him a character that you were like
Rooting.
sympathetic
Yeah.
toward or anything. No, it was very much like this is who he is, and he is a garbage, terrible person. It's
Okay,
actually a
okay.
duology. Yeah, it's
I was
not making.
thinking
Well, because you like along with the character, you're learning like she
Mhm.
obviously has a relationship with him because, I mean, she's grown up being like, oh, this is like this amazing man who like is best friends with my father, but then she finds out, oh no, like he is actually a disgusting human being. So like she doesn't believe in the things that he believes. Like she's not anti-Semitic or anything like that. It's definitely not like that, I promise.
When you said like uncle, I'm like, oh no. Oh no. Okay. That makes okay.
Well, no.
I'll check that out.
That's why, yeah, the book is about like her
Mhm.
coming to terms with the fact that he's garbage. So I thought it was really interesting and it was really good. And I promise it's not like promoting terrible things. I would not.
Would be promoting one, but it's good.
I would not.
Good to verify that information.
Yeah, amazing. So something I want to talk about, we're kind of going to be using the terms like I'm using the terms underrated and underhyped interchangeably. So basically we're going to be talking about books that like we don't think people talk about enough and should get more attention. So obviously everyone's definition of underhyped is kind of different, and like what books you think are underhyped are going to be different because of either where you like find out about books, like who you watch on Booktube, who you follow on Bookstagram, like whose blogs you read, all of those things. It kind of depends. So like I guess just like we're talking about books that we think we want people to read more, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we like are obviously all booktubers, so we think that the underhyped ones are ones that not a lot of people on Booktube talk about.
Yeah.
So you probably like maybe you and like your entire family and friends have read a book, but that yeah. So it differs.
Yes. So did we want to jump right into questions?
Sure.
Some questions from Twitter. Okay. So we have some questions from Twitter, but if you guys also want to leave some questions in the chat, we will answer those. This is kind of going to be some like recommendations as well. So like if you wanted like an underrated fantasy or an underrated like whatever, we can try and give you some recommendations for that.
Also, people in the chat can also help you out. So if you're looking for someone, like ask for them in the chat, and then we can all do that. Also, Lala, Books and Lala is here right now, so hello. But she said a lot of people say underrated, but really they're just underread. So that's kind of what we're talking about as well. So all of those definitions were changing.
Basically, like books that we want to get more attention is what it comes down to. Yeah. So this first question from Twitter is from Rachel Marie, and it is, if you see a book in a store that you've never heard of before, but it sounds interesting, do you hesitate buying it because you've not heard any hype about it?
I will always check Goodreads for ratings, even if it's people that I don't follow on Goodreads. I just want to see, like, I want to know, like, the good, the bad, and the ugly before, like, if the first like 5 reviews are all like, oh, this is terrible and offensive, I'm not going to pick it up. I'm not necessarily going to let them completely sway my idea of what the book is going to be, but I will not just blindly pick up a book. I used to have more faith in my own opinion, but now I need other people's input because I don't want to waste my time with it, you know?
Oh yeah, for sure. I get it.
For me, I feel like it's more rare nowadays that I will like just go to a bookstore and see a book and pick it up, even if the summary interests me. It's just because I have so many books that are recommended to me all the time at this point that I'm like, I have to read all of these. Like, I'm not just going to go and find something I don't know anything about yet. But I actually did do it recently. I think in my book haul I mentioned it, but I picked up, do I have it? It's not right here. I don't know. Oh, it's right here. I'm going to grab this stack. Oh my God, I'm falling. I picked up this book because I'd seen it in a bunch of bookstores, and the summary of it just seemed like really interesting to me. Also, I just like fantasy and I like dragons, which is Tess of the Road by Rachel Hartman, who wrote Serafina, I think.
Yeah.
I've never read Serafina. I just wanted to read a book about dragons, and I was like, this sounds cool. And I've literally never heard anybody talk about it at all. I don't even know what the rating for this is. But it just seemed like something I would like. So I picked it up. Usually I'll check like the star rating of something on Goodreads, but I don't read anybody's reviews until like after I've read it. Or if I hear people talking about it, then I'll go like read the reviews just because I'm curious. But usually if I just see something and I'm like, that seems kind of cool, if it really interests me, I'll just pick it up without looking at the rating or anything.
I try to look at the rating just because, I mean, and we can all relate to this and all kind of have said it. We have so many books to read and so many books that we want to read. So, like, you don't want to waste your time on something that you're not going to enjoy. So I will try and look at the rating, but I also will kind of read some reviews just in case there's anything like problematic in the book. And I don't really like want to support a book like that. So if it's one that I've never heard of, I make sure that there's nothing like that in it. But I also like, I want to know what other people feel about it and like if it's going to be something that I would enjoy because I'll kind of like I'm really bad. I buy books by their covers. That's like 1000% why I pick them up. So I'll like skim the synopsis and then I'll see if other people have liked it and then I make my decision whether I'm going to take a chance on it or not. But I come across like books that I don't hear about ever all the time because of work. So I kind of need to like make sure I'm making an educated decision or else I would literally just buy all the books that I see at work all the time.
Yeah. I'm much more like ballsy when I go to the library. I'll just like pick up whatever because there's no real repercussions for it. I will probably later like look up on Goodreads what the star rating and stuff is. But when I'm there, I'm just like, oh, this looks interesting. I'm going to pick it up because I don't have to spend any money. So.
Yeah. Amazing. I saw here, there were quite a few people who asked a similar question to this, but this one is from Ruby or Rebecca. And it says, how do I best convince people that a certain book is in fact a hidden gem? I feel like just constant vigilance.
Honestly, yeah. Yeah.
Like that's how I feel like Hannah's the one who's really good at this.
I am good at it. Honestly,
Yeah.
I take pride in the fact that I'm good at this. If I like something and I think that it doesn't have enough people reading it or something, I just don't stop talking about it. Like me with The Last Magician, me with Graceling, me with literally every book I've ever liked. Even if it's not underhyped, I don't care. I'm just gonna like push it until you get sick of me. And Hailey knows this like firsthand. She gets so annoyed. I do this with everything I like. So it's not just
books. 1000% true.
A bit much right now, but
yeah. But no, I think the best way to do it is literally just to nonstop talk about it. Like just especially like if you're a blogger or if you are a bookstagrammer or a booktuber or something. So like if you have a platform where you can talk about books and have some sort of influence over others about or to give people recommendations or something like that, then I just say just constantly talk about the books that you think deserve to be read, that you think deserve more attention, because that's the way that people will find out about them.
Sometimes it backfires. Like Hannah says something and I'm like, no, now that you want me to read it, I won't read it. But she did wear me down after like 2 years to read the circus. So
that's not on you. That's on people being petty when they're listening to you or not listening to you.
I think also like if you obviously are friends with the person, you probably know what they're into. Yeah. So if you can highlight like the parts of it that you think that they will like, kind of like personalize it to each person you're recommending. Like if they're really into romance and say like, oh, like there's romance in here, or just like it can be some obscure thing.
You got to sell it.
Yeah.
Like you were a salesperson. You were trying to pitch it. You got to pitch it to everyone. But like Hannah literally is so good at it. I literally repurchased The Last Magician. I haven't read it yet, but because she like would not stop talking about that and Graceling. Luckily I haven't like fully
I'm so good I can make you buy a book twice.
Yes.
You're welcome.
Literally. Oh my God. But like I think that's honestly the only way you could do it is like keep on talking about it, because then you get people excited about it. Like that's how those kinds of things work, you know?
And like when you really love something, at least like I'm this way, like when I really love something, it's so hard for me to not talk about it. And it's just so easy for me to like share how much I love it. So that's why I just don't stop talking about it. And I think when people see that you're that enthusiastic about something, it kind of motivates them to want to pick it up or think like, oh, maybe this is like a hidden gem book. Maybe I should check it out.
Yeah.
So don't hide your passion for it.
Yeah.
No.
Be out and proud about it.
I think like what Zoe was saying, like try and like about personalizing the recommendations, try and recommend it based on something else that they've liked, like whether it's like a TV show or whatever, or a book, but like don't say it's exactly like it. Just say, because you liked this one, I think that you'll probably like it because it has some of the same vibes, like, you know, pinpoint certain things. Because if you do it in the correct way, I think it would be really helpful, but don't be like, this is the next Harry Potter, because that's not helpful to anyone.
And it's also going to make unrealistic
it's not gonna happen.
expectations.
Yeah.
Like, what were we talking about? We were talking about something the other day, and we were like, Hailey, you'd like it because it's like Drag Race, or this has something to do with Drag Race. I don't remember what it was.
I don't remember either.
I don't think it was something.
Now I want to know.
I don't remember. I don't think it was something we'd read. I think it was a book that's coming out or something that has something to do with Drag Race, and we're like, it's perfect for Hailey.
It was the next one from Casey McQuiston.
Oh yeah,
it had the drag queen character, like a side character, and I'm like, oh, it was made for you, Hailey.
I am on board for it.
But yes, just make one of those. If you liked this, read this. Make one of those videos. You don't even have to post it on YouTube. Just make it for them and
make a PowerPoint for your friend and give it to them, honestly.
Yes, I would. Oh, I would do.
I know what you're both thinking of in terms of PowerPoint right now, and I want to die. There's an obsession going through our group right now, and it is the most. So much.
It's a sickness, and it's spreading.
Do you know what I did before we started this live?
Cried
for like 4 hours.
Cried while watching BTS stuff.
Yeah.
I cannot.
Or just in bed thinking of BTS.
No, I was not. I was
Tears were involved.
Oh God.
Okay, what's the next question?
Do you have any underrated books that are still on your TBR? This question's from Amanda B.
Well, I have The Last Magician. And so does Hailey.
Same!
And Graceling, which neither of you have read yet.
Yeah, it's not on my TBR. I don't own it, so sorry about that.
I feel like I just have so many.
Jane Steele. I've heard really good things about that.
Oh, I have that one too.
Oh, I don't feel like Jane Steele.
You know who we heard about that one from? It's from Hannah.
Oh, I heard it from Joss from School of Reads, like way back in the day.
I read it recently.
Mm-hmm. I think it's underrated.
I think it's just older at this point because it was
that's
really
what we were
popular.
talking about. Something we were talking about before the live show started. Wait, what?
Yeah. I was
okay. I thought you were saying
no.
Is that a lot of the time things can like reach their high point, obviously, where like it's either on the New York Times bestseller list or the adaptation just came out or something like that. Those things can like revive books, but once like a lot of backlisted books are underrated because obviously they're just not really relevant anymore. So I think with a lot of the ones that I picked too, they're just underrated. Like with Graceling too, like that was popular for a while.
It was really popular.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was super popular. And when it came out, and then like, but that was like before BookTube and like the giant like I don't know, big like book blogging community and like big book like online book community. So I don't think that it like that hype really existed in the same way then than it does now. So it was popular. It was really well loved, but it just like died out. Even when people were making like BookTube videos, they were like, oh, that's like a series that I really loved when I read it, but like no one really talked about it. So yeah.
I'm trying to see if I have any.
I don't know. I don't have enough here with me.
Like it's hard to say because there's so many that like they just came out, so like it makes sense why. I'm looking on my Goodreads.
I have the Pawnee book from Parks and Recreation. No one's read that. It's very underrated.
Beautiful.
And I have George by Alex Gino. I have The Princess Bride, which I think is underrated now because it's such an old book.
Yeah, I feel like
When the Moon Was Ours by Anna Marie McLemore. I feel like all of her books are kind of underrated.
There's like a few booktubers that talk about her books a lot.
I've read most of them. I haven't read her newest one. I forget what it's called. And I haven't read When the Moon Was Ours, but I really want to read When the Moon Was Ours. I know a lot of people love it, but I don't feel like a lot of people have read it.
Did she write Blanca y Roja?
Yeah, that's her newest one. Yeah. I forgot that.
I think she has a new one too after that just came out this year or is about to come out.
Already?
It might be about to come out.
I have
she writes a lot of books. It's amazing.
Yeah, she does. One that I think is kind of underrated is I have the 2 sequels on my TBR, so on brand. But I've had them on my TBR forever, but it's the Queens of Renthia series by Sarah Beth Durst. It's a adult fantasy. The first one is it the Queen of Blood or the Blood Queen? I don't know. It's something like that. But the second one is the Reluctant Queen, and then Queen of Sorrow, I think. But the first book, like you're following a certain queen, and then you're following different queens in the different books. So like it's literally the queens of this place, and it was a really cool like world because it's set in. It kind of reminded me of the world of like not your Avatar, but like other
The blue
Avatar.
one.
My Avatar. I appreciate that.
Amazing. But it reminded me of that a little bit. It was like this kind of magical school that's set in like I remember that I read it forever ago, but there was like a giant tree. And I think that's right. They like learned in this giant tree. I don't know if I'm actually right about that, but it has dragons and stuff too. Like it's a very intricate, interesting world. So I think that those ones are pretty underrated and should be talked about more.
Yeah, I've never heard of them at all.
Me either.
It sounds cool.
The first one, the first one was really good. I want to reread it and then get into the sequels, but like that was kind of my first venture into adult fantasy too. But I'm glad that I did because they were great. They also have really pretty covers, so that always helps. That's why I picked it up.
Mood.
On brand.
Honestly. So I guess from that we can get into this question from Jessica. What is it that makes you take a chance on an underrated book?
Take a chance, 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 take a chance.
Take a chance. Amazing.
We're gonna karaoke that song so hard in New York.
We have to. There's no other option.
Hannah, you can sing like the main part. Just let me be back up. I just want to say that 20 times in a row.
Okay, amazing.
I think usually it's if the back of the book sounds interesting, but usually it's I hear about it from somebody else.
Yeah, I feel like it's just it's the same reason why I'd read any other book. It's just like something about it is really intriguing to me, or someone told me that I would really like it that I trust. So yeah, it's no different than like reading, I guess, a hyped or popular book for me.
Yeah.
Or the reason behind it isn't any different.
Yeah. I would say, I mean, obviously mine's because of the cover, but like literally I'm so superficial. It's fine. I'm terrible. But if there's a book that like the synopsis sounds cool, but the cover is ugly, I'm less inclined to pick it up. So
yeah, no, I fully agree with you.
Yeah. Like if something
I literally did that like the other day when we were trying to decide on a book.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, no, the cover's too ugly. We're not reading that.
Yeah. Like if a book is hyped, I don't care how hyped a book is. If the cover's ugly, I don't want to read it.
Like I will, it's not like I'll never
read it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like I will take longer to read it. Because I'm like, no, this cover is prettier. So like my eye is drawn to it, so I'm gonna pick it up.
Yeah. Yeah. Big mood. Like, I mean, I'm very visual, so that's why my shelves are rainbow. It makes sense. So yeah, I'm definitely drawn to covers, and like I said, I see a lot at work. So for me, it's kind of interesting because like books that are underrated on BookTube, but I see them being like more popular in store. Like there's so many books that no one ever talks about on BookTube, but there's so many people that like they sell really well in the store. So
which one?
I think it's interesting. Well, particularly I can't think of it.
Oh, sorry, put you on the spot there.
Amazing. But like I can kind of gauge like how popular they think a book is going to be by how many copies we get, which is interesting. And you can see kind of the correlation a lot of times between what's being talked about on BookTube and online and how many copies we get and like stuff like that. But there are still some books that like I've heard no one talking about on BookTube, but we get a ton of them in store, and that's how I find out about them. But it changes all the time, like as we get new titles in. What was I even talking about? Where was I going with that? I don't know.
I don't know like why you pick up underrated books. And you're talking about covers.
The cover. So because like now I work, like I don't actually work and help customers because I'm antisocial, but I like do the receiving in the morning, which is why I work the 5 a.m. shift. So I work those and get the books like right out of the box. So like I see it's a very visual job because I see the book, see the cover, and I have to decide like where I think it would go in the store. So then I kind of get a chance to see some books that I haven't heard about on Booktube, which is where I get my underrated books. But it's definitely the cover that first catches my eye, in case you didn't get that from the 6 million times that I've said that. You're welcome. Oh, God.
I love how strong all of both your opinions are. Love it. Spices up my life because I usually have the opposite opinion.
Amazing.
I love it. So we have some. I lost it. Oh, from Julie Lafranzo in the comments. Do you think books are underrated because of their covers?
Oh,
I mean, I
think
think
they
sometimes
can-
a bad cover can heavily
Yeah.
influence the popularity of a book,
sure.
obviously. And when a cover is rebranded and you get like a better cover and the book sells way more, Royals, what's it called? Prince Charming.
Yeah.
It's a great example of that.
The original cover was way.
The
It was
original
pretty
cover's
tragic.
so-
Yeah. I remember getting that package and I was like, this sounds really good, but honestly, I don't want to read it right now because this looks like the cover of like a teen magazine.
Bright
And
pink.
that's-
It did. It looked like
Yeah.
one of those
Like a tween magazine, not even
Yes,
a teen
yes.
magazine.
Quiz
Like something
Fest
I'd
or
read when I was
Grade
10 years
14
old.
or-
like Teen Bop or whatever those were.
Yeah. Like it straight up looked like a kid's bop, like color wise. And I was like,
Yeah.
that's a lot for my eyes. But the Prince Charming cover is adorable. Like
Yes,
it's really,
so
really cute. Yeah. So I think that definitely influences it. I think we'd be lying if we said it didn't.
That's so cute.
Yeah. So cute.
The original's so ugly.
Yeah.
That was a great choice. But yeah, I think for sure, like, because I also got that package and I was like, I don't think I even read the synopsis because I was like, this cover is so ugly. I don't want to read it. I'm a garbage person, okay? But I'm a self-aware garbage human being. So like,
what if you write a book and it has an ugly cover?
I
will not let that happen.
Well, because you don't have any
No.
control in the matter.
But okay.
We will not let that happen.
Yeah, so I don't think that, like, I know that you don't control the cover, but your opinion is taken into consideration.
Okay.
Yeah,
You're
so,
like,
like,
I would boycott my own book.
Haley's the author. And I'm saying you and I will not let that happen. If she doesn't have control, that's fine. But like we will have control.
We're picketing
Yeah,
the publisher.
Someone is going to control the cover. But like the cover matters so much. So I think for sure there's a lot of books that get passed over because they have an ugly or average or forgettable cover. It's like the title. Like you need to kind of have a title that stands out. I don't really read the title so much, but something that like makes someone want to pick it up. You want them to make that split second decision. Oh, what's this about? And flip it over. So if you have an ugly cover, they're not going to want to pick it up and see what it's about. And you've already lost your audience there. So
I think another thing that heavily influences that is like, I think of Victoria Schwab's The Near Witch. Like that was her debut novel. She was like not popular and it's not like the book has changed at all, but the cover was not great. And they just re-released it this year with a new cover and that cover is gorgeous. And now she's a very well-known New York Times bestselling author. So the book hit the New York Times bestsellers list. So like a book that was, which was so exciting, but a book that was super underrated, you could definitely say, was now like a very popular hyped book because of the rebranding and the marketing that they did with it. And because of how much she's grown as an author over like how many books she's written at this point. Several. But yeah, so there are a lot of things that I think can heavily influence whether a book is underrated or not.
I think also if the cover, because we've talked about like before when we were talking about book covers, like back with our like live show that was just about book covers, but how there's trends in book covers and like with the snake that's in all of the book covers nowadays, and also
that snake is me.
Also titles like blank of blank and blank. All of those, like Queen of blank and blank. That's so many titles. But
Daughter
I feel
of Smoke Bone.
Yes, but also like Queen of Air and Darkness and like Queen of whatever
Queen of Shadows.
Yes, that one too.
Yeah.
But I think that can also influence if you're trying too hard to ride the wave of trends, you can definitely get lost in the mix. And I'm sure that there have been some great books out there that because the publishers were trying so hard to catch that wave that they just sunk.
Yeah. I think though, like, that works for BookTube and really like voracious readers, but for like in terms of being a bookseller, those trends and riding those trends is how they sell a book.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you are marketing, that's how they market to people who aren't typically readers and aren't typically going to just like go to the bookstore and know what they're looking to pick up. That's how they get people who are just going to the bookstore. They just read a book that they really loved and they're looking for something that's kind of similar to it. Those similarities in the title or the cover, that's how they're going to get them. So I think in a way, that's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, it's a strategy, but I also
it can like turn people away from it, but it will also encourage more people to pick it up at the same time. Like I know when I was a kid, if I found something that kind of looked like Magic Treehouse and like sounded like Magic Treehouse, I would have been like, yeah, like I want to read that. So it's kind of like depends on who you are.
I remember in the Borders days, RIP, before BookTube, before all of this, when I was like 12 or something, 11, I don't know. When I was super into the Hunger Games, I would go to Borders like every single day and I would just sit in the bookstore and like read different books. And there was like a bookseller who worked there, and she would recommend books to me based off of like the other books that I was reading. So I had just read the Hunger Games and it was like the day Divergent had come out and she was like, oh, read this, it just came out and you'll love it. And I read it and I was like so about it, but still like I read like all of those dystopian books, like all back to back to back, because they were all there in Borders and had similar summaries and had similar titles. And it totally worked. So yeah, I fully agree. It's like a double-edged sword. It can absolutely sell books, but also like when you're like us and you're constantly reading all of these books and you're constantly seeing all these titles, you're like, there's another queen of some sort of shadow. Like,
I'm getting confused.
Yeah. It's even like with right now with fantasy synopses, whatever.
Yeah.
I haven't picked up a fantasy in so long because there's probably so many underrated ones that are actually really good and I'm missing them, but like, oh my God, they all sound the same. I'm like, I can't get myself to care because they all sound the same, which is tragic because I'm sure there's so many that are like really, really good and underrated, but I just can't do it. So synopsis, title, and cover are definitely mega important because that's what sells your book. Like I would say I would say first the cover, then the title, then the synopsis.
Remember when the 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle was just called the 7 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle?
Well, the Canadian one is.
Oh, wait, they didn't change it to a half? It's just the 7 deaths? Oh, do you have the arc or is that the finished copy?
No, this is the finished copy.
Oh, wow.
It's just the 7 deaths. They didn't change it for the Canadian copy. And also in the audiobook, I think they made the conscious decision. They pronounce it Evelyn.
Evelyn.
Yeah.
Evelyn? Is she evil?
Yeah, I think so. But like so many numbers. Also, whenever there are numbers in titles, I feel like it's always like 7 or 8. Just a fact that I've noticed.
Or 3.
I don't know why.
It's 3 or 7.
What has 3 in it?
So many things.
3 dark crowns.
Yeah, that's the only one I was thinking.
2 dark brains. 1 dark throne?
Yeah.
I think that's them. It bugs me though because they're not in order, so it makes me really upset.
Is it 3, 1, 2?
I don't know. I don't even remember. I'm so behind on that series. I just know it annoyed me.
I don't remember. I think it's 3, 2, 1, but I don't know.
I would hope.
I think it might be 3, 2, 1, but still I want it to be 1, 2, 3. It's confusing.
We have a question from Aquaware in the chat. Do you prioritize new releases over older books you may be interested in?
Depends on the new release.
Yeah. Like
if it's Cassandra Clare, I'm going to read it instantly. If it's not, I probably won't. Or like if it's Erin Morgenstern, I'm going to read it instantly. Or
read it before you come
something like that. Like my favorite authors, yes, but overall, not necessarily.
I think it just depends on whatever catches my attention the most. Like I don't really like make a conscious decision. This book is older, so I should read it now. The only time like I'll try and get arcs in, I never do, but I at least in my brain I make an effort. Physically, it doesn't happen, but in my mind, I'm working so hard to do it. So She's a hard worker. But
It's
that's
why
like the only time.
I had to stop requesting arcs because I never got around to it. But I think like we don't have like in our minds like, oh, we want to be like ahead of the curve, like get all of the views from this new. It's just like what we're in the mood to read. I mean, Hailey.
I'm trying to get ahead of the curve here. Amazing. I'm not, I promise. If I was, I'm failing miserably. Oh dear. Let's see. I'll find another question from Twitter. Oh, this kind of goes along with this. So this is from Nikki on Twitter, and it is, I feel like a lot of backlist titles fall into this category. So if you find a great older gem, are you likely to still review it or talk about it on your channel despite it not being as recent?
100%.
Yeah. I think like there's so many new books coming out, absolutely, but like it's still those backlisted books and like give them the time of day. I think there's still so many great backlisted books that like I will never get to all of them, but I'm going to try and get to most of them. But I think like I try and read a good mix of the two, and I definitely talk about them on my channel all the time. And sometimes I'll feel like I'm a little bit late to the party, but I showed up.
Yeah, you
started when I walked in, and it was great.
Well, also the thing is that none of us do like sit down book reviews, like individual book reviews. So maybe that's different for people who do those. But all of us do like recent reads or like monthly wrap ups or something like that. But all of us also include them in like recommendation videos or things like that. So
yeah. Because I can see like, I guess with reviews, yeah, it's kind of different because reviews are a tough sell in like just in general, unless it's a really popular book. And even then, reviews just don't get as many views. Not that it all matters, but if we are talking statistically about the views, reviews generally don't get as many views as other videos. So I would say like sometimes I think I would not do backlisted books as much because I know that like there's not going to be that many people searching for this particular backlisted book. So I think if I did sit down reviews, then I would have to like really think how much do I have to say about this book if I wanted to do a review for it.
The only time I really do sit down reviews are just like if I really, really, really liked something and I just have to talk about it, or if it's like a continuation of a series that I've already started reading. So for the most part, I'm pretty sure all of my reviews have been for newer books. But if it's like something that I read that I really loved, like there's no way I'm not going to talk about it just because it's a backlisted book. Like, I mean, we talked about this earlier. I will talk about anything endlessly if I really love it and like push it nonstop. So, yeah. So for reviews, I fully agree. Like they're just different. And if you're making like constant reviews, it just makes more sense in terms of like creating content on YouTube to make reviews, like sit down solo reviews for more recent books, because more people will be searching for that.
Interesting. Let's take another question from Twitter. I feel like we've actually already covered most of these things. This one is from Deanie. What is your favorite underrated book from your childhood that you'd recommend? Oh, here she comes.
Okay.
She's here, folks.
So there's the Anybody's by Anybody, which I really liked.
I'm sorry. Anybody
N-E
wrote the Anybody's?
I think that's their pen name.
I'm screaming.
Really? I don't think it's a pen name.
Yeah, I don't know. There's also Once Upon a Marigold by Jean Ferris, which is so good. And apparently there was a sequel and I never read it and I'm so sad. And then the big one, The Beloved Dearly by Doug Cooney, that no one else has read. So it's very underrated. That's the only ones on my bookshelf that I can remember. I think there are some other ones. The Kingdom Keepers, that was good too.
Oh, yeah.
Set in Magic Kingdom, so I was like, yeah. I'm ready for them to come to life and just walk down the highway, come to me.
Beautiful.
They were going to make a movie of that, but they never did.
Oh. I feel like that would make a fun movie.
Yeah.
I'm surprised Disney didn't do that because it would like sell tickets to the park.
Yeah. It's a Disney book too. Like it's one of their books. So you think they would want to do that. Upsetting.
Choices. Do you have any, Hannah?
I'm trying to think. I've forgotten every single book I've ever read.
I know, right? Big mood.
That's why I had to
Big
turn
mood.
around and look at the bookshelf.
I don't have them with me.
Yeah, I
so-
don't have any.
Oh, an underrated book from my childhood, Twilight, clearly.
Beautiful.
Oh,
I have one, Harry Potter.
perfect.
No one's ever heard of it. It's about this
I
boy
haven't.
who lived and he went to
Oh.
a magic school. Yeah.
That sounds
It's
really
really
original.
fun. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
They use like sticks, and
City of Ember.
move
Did you guys
around.
read that?
No.
No, because I thought that it was supposed to. I thought it was a knockoff of City of Bones, and I was like, I'm not reading this.
I read it before City of Bones came out.
I think it's older than City of Bones.
It is.
But my 11-year-old, 12-year-old mind was like, no.
Beautiful.
There can only be one city.
Yeah.
And it's made of bones, not ember. Excuse me. Oh, Esperanza Rising was really good.
Mm.
And there was also Bud Not Buddy that was really good. And there was another one. There's so many good ones.
Well,
I'm going to remember all of these after we end this live show.
Yeah.
I know, right? There was one that I read when I was a wee child, and I got it in the Scholastic Book Report. It was The World According to Humphrey. It was about a hamster. He was a class pet, and he was like, I don't know if it was from his perspective or whatever. It must have been. Yeah, it was totally from his perspective. But that was a great series that I loved. Basically, if it had an animal on it, I was like, yes. But also The Amazing Taste of Abby Hayes, I feel like no one really talks about now. It was so good.
Those were so good. Her purple pen.
Yeah. Like, oh my god, those were amazing.
Because of Anya. All of what was her name? The one who wrote that one. All of hers were so good. Let me look it up. Because of Anya. She also did Among the Hidden. Oh, Margaret Peterson Haddix.
Haddix, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think those are necessarily underrated, but now they are. But back in
Yeah.
the day, they were so cool.
There was this series. Sorry, you said Scholastic Book Fair, and it just like triggered this memory. And I was obsessed with this one series.
Is it the fairy one that we figured out that we both read? We both
No,
read
it's not that one, but that one also definitely underrated.
Yeah.
No, all I remember about it is that there was this girl on the cover. I think it was a trilogy maybe, and there was like a wolf or something with her. And this is not descriptive.
A girl and a wolf, I like it.
There was a girl and she had a wolf with her or something. And I don't remember what the like series was actually called for some reason now. I'm like looking up Scholastic Book Fair books and I can't find it. But like if someone in the chat happens to know what I'm talking about,
there's
a girl and a wolf.
Descriptive description.
Wolves. Julie of the Wolves. There's that one.
I don't know.
That's an older one.
Did you guys read Maybird and the Ever After?
No, it's not Julie of the Wolves.
No. Maybird and the Other After.
That was so good. I think there were 3 in that. Oh, I loved it. She like goes to the ghost world with her cat, and it was so great.
That sounds.
Yes, it's Dark Hills Divide. Who just said that? Sorry, I looked it up.
I've never heard of that.
It's Dark Hills Divide. I loved that series. I loved it so much. I genuinely don't remember anything that happened. I just remember loving it.
Oh!
There's no wolf. That's a squirrel.
Okay, well there was something on the cover with no, but there's 3 books.
One of them
has a wolf.
yeah.
Okay, this looks very familiar.
I love this.
I was obsessed with these books. Oh my god, I loved these.
Amazing. I've definitely seen those before.
Yeah, the second one had the wolf, and then okay. Beyond the Valley of Thorns was the second one where she has a wolf. And then, yeah. Oh my god.
The 10th City and Into the Mist are the other ones.
Yes.
I remember seeing those, but I never read it.
They were great. I loved them. And I loved the other one. What was it called? The Tale of Emily Windsnap. Did any of you guys read that?
I've never heard of that.
It's about a mermaid, a girl who turns into a mermaid.
Oh yeah, they still have those. Those are really popular now. Still, actually.
Mm-hmm. I loved that as a kid too.
Yeah, they do well.
Oh.
I don't know if there's.
I think our next bookmarked book of the month should just be one of the random ones from childhood.
Can we just read the entire Magic Treehouse series?
And can we read Tonight on the Titanic? That's my favorite.
Yes, I was gonna say Tonight on the Titanic. That's my favorite. I was obsessed with shipwrecks.
Me too. Why do you think I'm afraid of boats?
Oh my gosh. Well, I reread the Pompeii one, and it was still really good and very informative. So I would be down. We could all read it 10 minutes before the book.
Literally, Pompeii and Titanic were my favorite. I was obsessed with both of
I
those.
never read the Pompeii
Those like
one.
instances in
that one was
history.
so good.
I
liked,
don't know why I like tragedy where everyone died, but
No,
even as like a child, but I did. So
there was the
Let me
one
take it
of
Very into adulthood.
the San Francisco earthquake. I also like that one.
Oh, I didn't like that one because I lived in like the area, so I was
It
like,
was far
I don't
away.
know.
I'd never seen an earthquake, so I was like, yeah, let's read this.
No, I loved Tonight at the Titanic because I used to spend hours on the phone with one of my friends talking about shipwrecks.
Yay.
I learned about the Edmund Fitzgerald.
We would have been good friends.
Yeah, we would have been great friends until I went to high school. Then things would have changed. Amazing. Oh, there's that one, and then Dolphins at Daybreak was another fave.
Oh, that one was
Those,
also really good.
yeah. Those definitely aren't underrated.
Remember? No, they're
So
not. But
good.
sorry, we're talking about Magic Tree House now. But do you remember the one where they go? It's like the Knights of the Round Table or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's Arthur and something.
Yes.
Yeah.
I loved that one too.
Yeah.
That was really good.
Oh, I also liked the one they went back to Shakespeare.
I don't know.
I never read that one. And
Something with
I
the
read that either.
bard. What was it? It was like something with the bard. I don't remember that.
I don't know.
It was Midsummer. I don't know.
Yeah, it was based on that one.
Magic Tree, yeah, which is my fave.
Also, everyone in the comments saying the American Girl books, they were my favorite. My favorite. I was obsessed with them.
Never had those. Oh yeah, it is the Stage Fright on a Summer Night is the
oh yeah.
Shakespeare one. The cover is so funny. Shakespeare's just like.
Remember when we went to the bookstore recently and we saw all of them and they were like this thin, and I still vividly remember them being like this thick, and I'm really confused how they were literally only like 20 pages long.
No, it was like 60 pages, but they were small pages because I just read it like on a car ride. When my last 24-hour readathon, I was like, okay, we're done. Because it's also like half illustrations too.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's really like 30 pages.
Amazing.
Well, I feel like we could talk about that forever. So moving on.
Off topic, but it's fine.
Well, should we talk about our book of the month?
Oh yeah, we haven't talked about that. Oh yeah, we have a poll. You can take the reins on this one, Zoe.
Oh, okay.
I didn't even look at it. I don't know what one.
I just looked at it.
Okay.
But we did a poll. We held a poll on Twitter for our June book of the month. We are trying to do that with most of our book of the month so that everyone has some input. So we had 4 options of like summary contemporary books to read. Our options were If I'm Being Honest by Emily Webberly and Austin Siegman Broca. There's Something About Sweetie by Sandhya Menon. I Was Born for This by Alice Oseman, and Like a Love Story by Abdi Nazemian. Is that how you say his last name?
I don't know. I have to read it.
It's fine. But the one that won 41%, oh my goodness, was I Was Born for This by Alice Oseman. So that is going to be our book of the month. The other ones, I mean, it was like, the other ones were all pretty much tied. And then I Was Born for This. We had a lot of comments as well that were like, oh my gosh, I've already read this and it was so good. Or like, I'm so excited for that one. So yay! Good
Ordering it now.
Yes.
Need to order it. But we are also currently reading A Clockwork. Is it Angel?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I just had a moment where my brain stopped working, which happens so often. Excellent. But we're currently reading Clockwork Angel. It is our May pick, but next week we are going to be at BookCon, so we are doing our live show after. We are doing it June 7th on Hannah's channel, so you'll have the information for that for you. So you still have time to read it if you haven't yet. I haven't yet.
Neither have I.
Okay, none of us have. So we still have time to do it. But next week we're going to be gone, so we won't have a live show, tragically. But we will be back after.
Mm-hmm. We might do an Instagram live.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And just hang out.
Yeah. You should follow all of us on Instagram. Follow the Bookmarked Book Club on Instagram. It's at Bookmarked Club, but it's also down below, I believe. So you guys can follow us there because we're definitely going to do like just really fun, like casual Instagram lives and stuff like that. But we're back on Zoe's channel. No, Hannah's channel. We'll be back on Hannah's channel the week when we get back. But yeah. Do you want to talk about our booktuber of the week?
Yes, I do, buddy boy. So our booktuber of the week is Reggie from Don't Stop Reading. And I reached out to Reggie on Twitter to ask for a bio. And so here we go. Okay. Reggie reads a mix of YA lit, memoirs, and adult contemporary. She loves reading with her tricolor corgi, Yogi, at her side. There's actually
Literally, you need
video.
to watch it. It is the best booktube video I have ever seen in my life. I immediately had no choice but to stan. Like, I stan, but I was like, no. And it's so beautiful. She has her dog, an icon, go through this book maze. Please watch it. It is incredible.
You should link it down below after we're
Yes,
done.
I also need to add her link, actually, which I will do right as we speak.
So
But
make that the first video that you watch from her channel.
Yeah.
Also, Reggie's favorite book of all time is Beartown by Friedrich Bachmann, while her favorite author is fantasy writer Samantha Shannon. What did Samantha Shannon write?
The Bone Season and Priory of the Orange Tree.
Yeah, the new one. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the really thick 800-page one.
Yeah.
That a lot of people read. One of her favorite videos on her channel is least to most favorite John Green books, where she ranks John Green's novels, and she plans on turning least to most favorite into a series with future videos on Rainbow Rowell and Taylor Jenkins Reid. So check her out.
Yeah.
Watch her.
I'm working on getting her link. It'll be there in 2 seconds. I'm adding the corgi video.
It's Don't Stop Reading. Like, don't stop.
It's such a great
Believing.
so cute.
Hold on to that feeling.
Wow, can't wait for karaoke on Monday.
I'm gonna sing just like that. You're welcome.
Beautiful. All right, so that is our live show. We will see you soon. We are going to be having lots of fun at BookCon, so if you do see us, please say hello. We would love to chat with you guys, and yeah, I think it would be fun. So we will see you when we get back. Bye.
Bye.